Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thanks for joining us for our latest eSpeaks segment. Today, our special guest is from Infoblox. It's Kanaiya Vasani. Kanaiya is EVP of Product and Corporate Development at Infoblox. Welcome, Kanaiya.
Chris, pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this and catching up with Infoblox. Tell us at a high level, Kanaiya, what Infoblox does to solve problems with IT.
So Infoblox, as you know, Chris, we are a pioneer and market leader in core network services, in delivering and securing core network services for the enterprise. And by core network services, I mean things like DNS, DHCP, IP address management, network discovery, traffic management within the enterprise, things that are foundational and essential for anything to happen within an enterprise's IT infrastructure. We have over 8,000 customers worldwide. We are deployed in some of the largest enterprise as well as service provider networks across the world. Just to give you some stats, 93 of the Fortune 100 enterprises use Infoblox. 94 out of the Forbes 100 enterprises use Infoblox. 58% of the Fortune 1000, 74% of the Forbes 1000, right? So you go to any large enterprise and you're gonna see Infoblox out there providing these core network services that really drive the networks in these large enterprises and service providers.
Right. So very, very important component in the structure of IT systems. A lot of times, you know, you're just an unsung hero. You're there working every day in the background and don't get a lot of credit for what you're doing. But these are the kinds of services and products that keep everything moving. And without them, we can't do the business that we do. So, you know, I think it's just really important to identify companies like Infoblox, and there are many others. Not everybody can be like you know, on a billboard somewhere or you know, on television. But these kind of things are just so important. Can you give me an example, Kanaiya, of a use case that our listeners might understand?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. It's sort of some of this traditionally has been happening behind the scenes. So unless and until something breaks, you don't hear of, well, hey, what's happening in your DNS or DHCP or IP address management. But what's
right.
happening, Chris, is as enterprises are adopting and embracing cloud in a big way, both from an infrastructure standpoint as well as moving all their software applications into the cloud as well, you're starting to see the enterprise become a lot more distributed. If you go back 5-7 years ago, right, your enterprise was very centralized. Everything came into your data center, your applications, your servers, your network infrastructure all sat there. You had a pipe to the internet, you had a perimeter-based defense system, but the data center was really the center of the universe.
Sure.
But that, as you know, has completely changed with the adoption of private clouds, public clouds, hybrid clouds, edge compute. So this whole enterprise has become a lot more distributed. Workloads have become a lot more dynamic because we are virtualizing everything through VMs and microservices and containers. We want elastic scale, so we want to spin up and tear down these workloads on the fly. So that the whole environment has become a lot more dynamic as well,
Right.
which makes what we do really foundational and critical. So we are seeing a lot of momentum behind this business because as enterprises go through this cloud transformation, they want to automate all their workflows, right? Around, hey, if I'm spinning up VMs, I need to allocate IP addresses. If I'm tearing them down, I need to reclaim them. I need DNS records to be automated, DNS record management to be automated. I need to make sure that you plug into ITSM and DevOps tools. So there is a lot of interest in what we do because without that automation, you just can't deploy and deliver this hybrid multi-cloud enterprise. Right?
It's too complicated. You need to have a good management solution. Does Infoblox have a menu of services and products that it allows customers to choose from, or is it a single platform of lots of choices?
So we've always taken a platform approach, where you have this distributed platform in which you can start to layer in a whole bunch of network services. From a go-to-market standpoint, we package the right set of services together, so you are not having to nickel and dime your customers on, hey, do you want this capability or that? We give them the entire suite of core network services packaged in a good, better, best format, right? So you can pick the amount of services you need for the use cases you have. You asked about other use cases, visibility, right? Once again, you have a very distributed dynamic enterprise. Visibility is another big use case for us, right? Discovering everything that's in your infrastructure, who is on your network. Once they are on your network, where are they going? We provide that ubiquitous visibility across this enterprise. We can let you baseline what's normal communication patterns in your enterprise, and then start to flag potential anomalous behavior. So security has become a big tailwind, a big driver for the business for us as well.
Right. You can't control anything unless you can see it and document it.
Got it.
So tell me about, Kanaiya, tell me about IPv6 and what's so important about that. And can you define it for our listeners first, and then explain how Infoblox is using that?
Yeah, so if you go back to the beginning of when we started the internet thing, right? I mean, we had 32-bit addresses, IPv4 addresses, and obviously as the internet took off, we quickly ran out of the address space there. So what you started to have to do was you had to put proxies in your infrastructure, or you had to put NAT solutions, network address translation solutions, where you would have one public-facing IP address, and then behind that IP address, you would use a private IP address space. And there's always this translation happening when you're going from the enterprise to the rest of the world. We introduced a lot of unnecessary complexity into the network infrastructure simply because our address space just did not scale. We never thought we would be connecting billions and billions of devices and endpoints out there in the infrastructure. So that's what IPv6 was designed to solve, right? You have now 128-bit addresses, so you have enough address space to handle any and all communication you may want to do in the enterprise.
Okay, and that's super important to networking, obviously, because you need those addresses to network. And you guys are at the forefront of using that. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do IP address management. So if your readers are interested, we have a whole center of excellence on our website where they can learn as much as they need to on IPv6.
Is that on Infoblox.com or what?
It is on Infoblox.com, and just search for IPv6 and you will land on an IPv6 Center of Excellence microsite, and you can learn everything you want to about IPv6.
That's great. Very, very good service for people and potential customers or not potential customers.
That's right. The world is tipping over. I mean, it was a very slow adoption of IPv6, and that's why you've heard about the World IPv6 Day. It's coming up in a couple of days. Started out 9 years ago, right, with a lot of the large service providers and content service providers saying, look, we just need to make a big push, drive adoption for this service. I think if I look at where we are right now, we are probably at a 50-50 split between IPv4 and IPv6 traffic. So we are starting to see that pivot in a big way. And I think the big driver has been mobile devices and IoT, right? Because every cell phone that you have needs an IP address, and that's where IPv6 really started to take off.
Yeah.
Emerging markets like India and China, IPv6 started to take off, right? Just because of the sheer volume you needed there.
How many billions of phones do we have? It's astounding.
That's right.
So anyway, listen, Kanaiya Vasani of Infoblox, I want to thank you very much for your time today and sharing your expertise with us on eSpeaks.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you, Chris.
Okay, thank you. And everybody watching along here, have a great rest of your eWEEK. Thanks for joining us on eWEEK eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.